and the discovery phase of the project.
Got it. Cool. Next question. Imagine you are working on a critical ticket and you hit a massive roadblock. You've been stuck for 45 minutes. Walk me through exactly what you do next. What does your communication look like?
If I am going through a massive ticket and I get blocked, I would say I first try to solve it by myself. I usually like to solve things first by myself because they allow me to learn more and investigate more before getting the answers straight away. But if I feel that I am too blocked, I definitely like to reach to my teammates. And if I am blocking someone else, then I would prefer to go over the communication with my teammate route first.
How long would you spend with yourself trying to figure out the issue?
Maybe a couple of hours, 2 or 3, unless it's an emergency. If it's not like P0, I would try to maybe have my time first so that I can take the time to learn. I usually feel that it's a sacrifice at the beginning, but it pays off in the long run because I sort of learn what the architecture and is and how to do the stuff.
So if you reach out to a team member, how exactly would you reach to them? What would you say to them?
I usually like to DM the teammate. I like to tell him, hey, I am working in the following ticket, and try to be as descriptive as possible. And I told him like, can we have some peer review or can you give me some help so that you can unblock me with it? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So I want to tell you something important.
Hmm.
To give you a clear picture of our culture, we work highly independent, but we demand extreme ownership and high availability. Okay. We pivot fast. As scope changes happen, we expect everyone to be highly responsive on Slack, right? We use Slack. If you're stuck or stepping away, we over communicate, right? We like
Okay.
over communicating things.
Makes
We
sense.
like turning on cameras, although I don't comply with that rule too often, but it's appreciated. I'm saying this because going silent for 2 hours during the workday
Oh
doesn't
no, yeah,
doesn't
that would
usually
be
work
bad.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
does that environment sound to you?
I think it makes sense to me. Definitely, I wouldn't go silent 2 hours. I would assign 2 hours of like personal investigation, but I actually tend to be super responsive, usually between the 5 and 10 minutes line at most. Because I feel definitely communication is important. It allows the team to be in sync, especially on remote teams. So it makes sense.
All right. Uh, and yeah, another question, more of like, mm, give me a moment. Yeah, this is a good one. Walk me through the very first 30 minutes of your work day. What do you do when you log on?
I definitely like to get updates on what's the status of the team. Maybe if something new popped up, if there are alerts, errors. I definitely like to read someone else's messages if they are already there, so that I get in touch with the current status of the project.
Okay. Imagine it's 2 p.m. You have a critical feature due by the end of the day, but you've hit a bug and you suddenly realize there's 0% chance that you finish it today. What do you do next?
I definitely communicate it before everything blows up in everyone's mind. I would definitely communicate it so the team is mentally prepared for that. I actually don't like to throw this news without any backup. I actually like to have, if not a workaround, then some documentation on why the incident is not being able to be delivered by the time. So I usually do it like that. Like I first create an incident, document it, and communicate right away. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Now, let's say that there's a meeting that you missed, or that you have a meeting in 5 minutes and you cannot join. Uh, what do you do?
Well, if I have data available, I try to definitely let the team know, because the time, I feel time is something that you have to respect on someone else's. So if they can go ahead without waiting for me, it would be better than making them maybe wait for 5 or 10 minutes and then forcefully continue, right? So if I can tell them, hey, I won't be able to make it to the meeting, that's the go-to route for me.
Okay, cool. Cool, Julian. Can you show me around one of your projects? I wanna see it. Can you explain to me?
Yeah, I definitely like for the BlockFi project. I am not sure if they still have it online because that company went bankrupt. Yeah, but I can explain you how I set it up. Usually, most of my projects are under an NDAs, so they don't allow me to share the code. But I can explain, for example, how did I set the BlockFi one. Since it was a fast API
Is
framework.
it is it any project where you can show me around the code base?
Yeah, wait, let me see if I have one real quick on my GitHub. Um, maybe I do. Yeah, I think I can show you this one since this one is open source. So this is, for example, one that I worked for the Boost library. The Boost library is the most famous library for C Sharp, if I am not wrong. When I worked with them, I was in charge of improving the visuals of this entire application and also creating an administrative interface for their libraries. So it's like the npm for C++. This was the project structure that we had so far. It was created with Django REST framework along with React for the front end. And well, we had a couple of, what can I tell, like multiple pipelines and multiple checks, given that this is an open source structure. Uh, for the project, we decided to create a pipe.project.toml file where we would use Python 3.13. I updated it. Um, Actually, someone else made the push, but I updated the Python 5.2 to 3.3. I updated the Django and the Python to 3.13. Um, Usually my projects looks this way. They are structured via as a code as infrastructure setup, where even the requirements are specified and they are logged in specific versions. They don't use wildcards because wildcards are prone to failure, and every developer will have like different systems. For this project, I created a front end and a back end library. For the front end, we have the common um, files. They are our styles. Since this one is pure Django, usually the HTML files live under the templates because we use a templating system in Django, which is the template tags. And under template tags, we have our front end files and so on.
So
Uh,
that's the front end. Can you show me around the back end?
yeah, so the backend is also under core. Since Django is usually managed by what we call applications, it has a model view template approach. So, for example, here we define our data models where we have everything related to the company's business logic. In this case, we only care about this render content was for comments that people could contribute to their forum, but we also have like site settings. For this one is for the npm But in this case, it's not npm. The boost library page that they post. Um, we have other applications for this, like the news application, where we have also our models for the new. And well, this is pretty much the data model definition. They are usually handled via the views and the forms logic. So on our views, we define all of our endpoints and how we want to treat every single endpoint pretty much. We make use of built-in classes to simplify the creation of our endpoint. So in this case, we are inheriting that.
Can you show me where one of the paths is defined?
Yep, there is so in Django there is usually a URLs file. I believe we define it here under. Let me just look for it.
Okay. Regarding the models for validation, what framework does it use?
This one does not use anything like Pydantic or something like that. Django has a built-in um, type, a built-in type sanitizer. It's called the Django serializers, and it pretty much detects the data types based on what I define on the models. So on the models, you define the type of field that you are going to have, whether it's char, text, foreign, boolean. There is like a lot of Django files. This framework takes that data model and inputs it into the endpoint. So that way you have data validation straight away without having to rely on something like Pydantic. So that way your data is consistent with the data model that you imputed. And it forces to have a clean way to send the data and receive it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's why that's something that I like from Django, since it
What about
enforces.
database wise?
I believe here we use PostgreSQL. Let me check. It usually is defined over the settings file.
Did you define like the whole schema?
Django does it for you. What it does is that since you create a model file with all of the relations, you don't have to manually create the SQL schema. It does it under the hood for you. I believe it's a better practice because it's less prone to errors.
Did you set up the relationships yourself?
Yeah, I do. So as an engineer, you have to set up like the relational model. So for example, here, if I have an entry, the entry has an author, which is a foreign key, right? Then the author will have many entries. So you do that, you just do it more, let's say, sugar syntactic that defining the SQL query where you insert the foreign key on your table. It just does it under the hood. You just insert your model, which was defined, for example, here. Why this ORM is so powerful? Because by defining these models, you will have a really good schema. Maybe even better than creating it manually. I have seen it many times. That's why I tend to use this ORM first.
Okay, so you feel we can say you feel comfortable like managing, like creating new databases, let's say, and creating new relationships for depending on the business needs, right? So, have you
Oh
done
yeah,
have you done it before?
like if I had to do raw SQL queries, I am able to. I've done it plenty of times. Usually businesses don't use Django as their framework, but rather something less creative like Node.js or Fast
But let's
API or
say
stuff
let's
like
say
that.
that they're proposing you to create like an application. Like, are you comfortable just choosing the like type of database? How will you handle like the data relationships?
Mhm.
Choose between different frameworks. You've done that before, right?
Yeah, correct. I would say I would choose the database depending on the business logic. Also, the strengths that each of the databases engines have, whether it's MariaDB, PostgreSQL, uh, maybe even MySQL. I have
Got it.
created databases from zero. And if you are gonna go deep inside the database layer, you really have to know what are the advantages of the different engines. So for example, if you are going to have a model that you want to train, those usually have three-dimensional vectors data, and that data is better suited for PostgreSQL, just to give an example. Or if you want to store many hashes because you are maybe storing organized information of a library, maybe you could go with MySQL. Why? Because their engine is optimized for hashing. So it depends on the advantages and disadvantages of your business structure. That's not even considering the framework, right? If you add a framework, then you have to consider other criteria.
Sounds amazing. Great. Uh, okay, Julian. Awesome, awesome. I think I have everything I need so far. Parce,
Okay.
muchas gracias. Se nota que eres bastante crack. Creo que lo primero que voy a hacer es de verdad hablar con el jefe para decirle tus expectativas para que no empecemos como por el pie izquierdo.
Dale, dale.
Entonces, pero sí, parce, no, me gusta mucho su perfil, hermano. Este, parce, ¿qué le iba a decir yo? Y bueno, mentorías, ¿cómo te sientes con las mentorías? Con de pronto compartir conocimiento, enseñando cosas, ¿se ha tocado hacer como tallercitos? ¿De pronto te han pedido como darle mentorías a ingenieros o cursitos?
Creo que se me da muy bien, especialmente cuando son temas que yo manejo, por ejemplo, bases de datos o frameworks como Django. Me gusta mucho, me gusta compartir el conocimiento porque siento que también aprendo. Muchas veces enseñando me han salido dudas que me hacen personas que de pronto yo no me sé la respuesta y cuando la busco pues aprendo más. Entonces en general siempre me ha gustado.
Listo. No, excelente, parce. 10 de 10. Excelente servicio.
Sí,
Julia, muchas gracias. Yo te aviso entonces. Voy a escribirle ya al jefe, listo.
listo,
Hombre, un placer
Juanes.
conocerlo. Ahí estamos hablando. Cualquier cosa, parce, me avisa. Si quiere también parchar algún día en Medellín con el
Eso,
John Jairo o algo, por acá
eso.
estoy.
Por allá
O si
nos
yo sí quiero
vemos.
jugar PUBG. Sí, se me gusta
Eso.
jugar PUBG.
Pues no lo he jugado, pero sí, también, capaz que me les pegue. Sí, me lo
Hágale, listo.
instalo.
¿Tiene PC gamer usted?
Sí, sí, ahí tengo una 5080, apenas.
¿Cómo? Ah, yo tengo una 4090.
Uy, esa también es brutal.
Sí, sí, sí. Hágale, Julián. Entonces estamos hablando, pues. Todo bien,
Dale
parce.
pues,
Espero
Juanes.
conocerlo. La
Un
buena.
placer conocerte. La buena.
Todo bien.
Marica, chica, ando su
Ah,
50, 80, la chica, papá.
y para la chimba, pa.